Hi guys, happy Homebrew Wednesday. You know, that's the first beer I've had in a few days. It's pretty good. No, I've been caught a cold on Saturday, and it was after my cast on Friday night. I woke up around dinner time on Saturday, and I thought it was just a hangover because I think I drank quite a bit. But so I had a little bit of dinner and I just went back to bed, and woke up Sunday morning, and no, it's a cold, or it was a cold. It still is kind of a cold. It's just going away. My son's got it too, and my wife had it a little while ago. So it's a sinus thing. You feel crappy for the first couple days, and then it just lingers on in your sinuses. But anyway, I'm fine. So I'm having a beer. This is the last of my Brewer's Best Double IPA. It tastes great, and I'll be putting up the review on this beer shortly. I actually did the review itself on Sunday night when I wasn't feeling that great, and so I don't know how well it turned out. Well, anyways, I'll be putting that up on YouTube in the next few days. So anyway, let's get on with business. First of all, it's the holidays are coming up, and I guess I don't push things too hard on you guys usually, but since it's coming up, the holidays and Christmas, I thought that I would take this opportunity to remind you that I do have t-shirts for sale, and I think if you were to order them now, you'd get them before Christmas, depending on where you live. But certainly we would do our best to get them to you in that before then. Anyway, so I'll put the link down below. It's tgtshirts.com. Actually, they've been selling quite well recently. I guess people are hopping on the bandwagon and getting their spouses, if the wives are buying their husbands a shirt, or husbands are buying their brothers, aunts, uncles, cousins shirts, or whatever. So it's good. It's good for me too. So that's great. So that's the first thing. And it's Christmas, so buy lots. Okay. All right, I'm not going to push it. Okay. Next thing is, have I got mine down here? Yeah. Well, it's got stuff on top of it. The Cooper's DIY beer kit. I haven't mentioned this in a while, and they still are for sale. I'm not selling them, but I can put a link down below. And if you're somebody who's just thinking about getting started home brewing, or if you are somebody's wife who's watching this and doesn't know what to buy their husband for Christmas, here we are again. I may as well mention it, that you don't forget that it's a great starter kit. I still use mine all the time. Whoops, there go my glasses. I have the it's underneath something here though. I have the fermenter down here. I'm not going to pick it up because it's under. I've got stuff on top of it that I just dug up from under my bench. But I normally just use the fermenters that you see me use most of the time because I'm just used to them and I've been using them for a while. But I do still use the Cooper's fermenter as well. It's great. There's nothing wrong with it. It works perfectly. In fact, it's a little less hassle than the ones with the airlocks, to tell you the honest truth. And don't forget, the Cooper's kit comes with all the bottles and the hydrometer and your first beer kit and the caps and everything you need to do your first beer. And you can use it for all grain, partial extract, mini mash, any kind of brew that you want. You can use this equipment for years and years. So you're not buying something that's going to be obsolete or you're not going to be able to use. A lot of us still use it all the time. And I know a few brewers that still use it, just like I do. So I'll put a link down below, and you can buy one there. Hopefully they can get it to you before Christmas. I'm pretty sure they will be able to. But please use that link down below. That's the best way to get it, okay? All right, so now look. I didn't have a lot of time to prepare for Homebrew Wednesday because I have been feeling a little under the weather. So I didn't really come up with a lot of things to talk about, but I'll just give you a bit of an update. And then I have some questions here that I didn't answer the last time I did the frequently asked, or the FAQ session, or whatever you want to call it. There were some questions I didn't get to, so I've got some of them on my iPad over here that I'll answer from some of you guys. I have I've got a Cooper's English Bitter with grains. Talked about this last week. It's the one where I had the steeping grains and the double boil, the double pots that I showed you. So I steeped those, and then I just added that too. There's some chocolate malt in there, and some Crystal 60, plus the Cooper's English Bitter, and some brown sugar I believe I put in too. So that's going to be kegged tonight, I think, if I'm feeling up to it. If not, tomorrow. But so that's what's going. I have not started any other brews at all because I haven't felt like it. So I've still got 2 Muntins kits down here and that were sent by Pre-Hopped, and I also have a Cooper's something or other around here somewhere. I think it's a Canadian Blonde, and I also have a wine kit that's been sitting around here for about a month that I have to get brewing as well. Okay, so that's what's brewing and what's not brewing, and definitely when this gets over with, this cold, I feel a little bit better. You just get really tired with this particular one, and you just sleep and sleep and sleep. Of course, I don't have a problem sleeping anyway. I can sleep for 18 hours if I try. And usually that's what happens after my Friday night broadcast, is I sleep all day Saturday and all Saturday night, because I'm just so tired after that. And unfortunately that means I miss some other broadcasts, but life, you gotta sleep, so we'll see what happens. Anyway, I got my glasses. I didn't forget them this time. Oh, I got some vinyl too. I don't know how. There's just 4 of them here. This is Jim Croce. I had this vinyl when I was growing up. It's still got the shrink wrap on it, and I don't know if you guys have or had this record. I love this Greatest Hits Jim Croce album, and it still even has the insert in it with his son, who looks very sad because Jim Croce died in a plane crash. And I used to stare at that picture while I listened to the record, and I used to get very emotional when I was young, thinking that, wow, he's looking for his dad, and he's kind of looking a little bit sad, and his dad's not around anymore. So this is a great album if you can get your hands on it, and this is in immaculate condition, and I'll definitely be playing some of this on my Friday night broadcast this week. I'm probably going to take the plastic off and put a regular, like a cover on it that I've got, because it's only damaged here and here. The rest of it's really good. So there's that one, and I have some other ones here I just picked up. I don't know. This is Xanadu. It's Olivia Newton-John and the Electric Light Orchestra. It was in pretty good condition, so I grabbed it. I don't know if I'm going to listen to it very often, but I just got the Volume 2 of Linda Ronstadt's Greatest Hits. I have Volume 1, so I figured I'd pick that up. It's in pretty damn good condition, as you can see by the top. And the inside, it's got the sleeve and everything. So I played part of it, and it sounds great. Very, very, very little scratches on it, if any. And Gordon Lightfoot. This is in great condition. It's a little yellow, but it doesn't have any damage. It still has the sleeve, and it's yellow too, but that's probably because of somebody smoked, or it's just the way paper is when it gets old. And this one's got the wreck of the Edmund. I can't even talk. The wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald on it. I'll get that word out one of these days. It's got that on it, so I'd like to play that on my cast this Friday too. People often request that song. This video might be a little longer than usual. I'm not going to edit it because I really am too tired and I need to get some other things done. So if it's longer than 20 minutes, I apologize. Okay? Now, let's get to some of the other questions. I figured I'd just use this to fill in the time. And these are ones I didn't get to answer when the last time I did the 3-part series. Excuse me. Let me take a breather here. Oh, it's a good beer. It's a good beer, but don't drink too many of them. That's the thing about that. Okay, now I didn't put the names of the people down this time. I just copied and pasted the questions onto my iPad here. So here we go. He says, wondering what your thoughts are on the Festa Brew and Brewhouse kits. They are super easy and all grain wort. Okay, I'm familiar with the Festa Brew. I'm not familiar with the Brewhouse, but it sounds like it's the same thing. The Festa Brew, basically what it is, it's a box. Inside the box there's a 5-gallon bag, a bladder, and inside there is wort. And it's already boiled, hops added, done, finished, everything's, all you do is you pour it into a fermenter and you add the supplied yeast. It takes about 5 minutes. And people might say, why would you do that? That's not home brewing. I've answered this question over and over and over, and I'll keep answering it until it gets into people's heads. Some of us brew to save money. And if it means sanitizing a bucket and pouring somebody else's wort into it and pitching some yeast, that's a lot better than going out and buying a couple of cases of beer. Especially if time is, not allowing you to do a brew that week or that month or whatever it is. It's excellent beer. I've had a couple of batches of them, and no, it's not fun to do. It's not brewing really. It's fermenting. You're fermenting someone else's wort. It's pre-made, and it's not much of a hobby. But if you didn't want home brew, but you wanted to have cheap beer, it's a great way to go. So you don't want to mix stuff together and crank things and add grains and hops and boil stuff. You just want to have cheap, inexpensive beer, and all you have to do is pour it in a bucket and ferment it, and that's the way to go. And it's good stuff. So that's my thoughts on it. If you're doing it for a hobby, for the hobby aspect of it, then no, it's not going to be the thing. You want to put more of your own effort into it. Okay? Just finished watching the 4-part winemaking series. I don't think I would like all of those bottles. So could the finished wine be kept in a 5-gallon keg and use a little CO2 to serve the wine as needed? Okay. First of all, wine doesn't normally have carbonation. That's champagne. So when you buy I don't have one right now near like a bottle of wine, but when you buy one, it's just flat. Okay? So you don't have to worry about adding CO2 or doing anything to carbonate it, because that's not normally how wine is served. Or at least the type of wine that I've been making. As far as not bottling it, you can get away with leaving it in the carboy when it's like, if you got a glass carboy that you've siphoned it into to let it finish and you've cleared it and everything. You can get away with siphoning it out glass by glass or bottle by bottle. So you take off the airlock, you get your auto siphon, like your little, whatever, the wine thief or whatever you're using, and you fill up your glass of wine. And then you put the airlock back on. And I've done that a couple of times when I was lazy, which is often. And it doesn't hurt the wine, because the wine has the stabilizers in it that stop it from going, oxidizing and things happening to it. It doesn't get infected or anything like that. And when the wine gets to be about 2/3 of the way down, when there's only about this much of it left, then you can bottle that, and you've only got about 6 or 7 bottles to do. Alternately, of course, the best thing to do is just bottle it. I mean, bottled wine is great. You put it on its side, you let it age for a while. It's wonderful stuff. You pop the cork. It's great to take to parties and put out on the dinner table and whatnot. It's certainly viable to bring to a dinner that you're going to and plop it down and say, I brought a bottle of wine. Okay, it's not inmate brew. It's real good wine. Alternately, what you can do, and I don't know if you're going to find these, and I don't know where you're going to find them or anything like that, But inside this box, I'll just open it. It's probably not cleaned out because I just finished. There's a bag. So there's a little bit of wine left in the bottom there. Okay, you buy the bags. They have to be food grade and they have to be made for alcohol. So you got to get them from your home brew supplier. Don't just buy any old thing. They come with a little spigot that you just press the button, you know. So what I do is I think they hold about 10 liters each. And so you've made, what, 23 liters of wine. So you just get yourself a box. You put a little hole in it. You put the spigot through there. You take the spigot thing off. You fill it up with the wine after you've sanitized the bag, of course. You put the spigot back on. You set this down somewhere and you got wine. Boom. No bottling required. And you can do 2 of these. That's 20 liters, and with the other 3 liters you can just bottle it, or you can do the first thing I mentioned, which is just drink 3 liters of it by stealing it out of the carboy. And then when you get down to 20 liters, then you can put it in these little bladders. Now, if you want to age the wine, you can age it in the carboy. You can leave it in there with the airlock on it and just let it sit for as long as you want. And then you can drink it after that, just the ways I just told you. If you're too lazy to bottle it, which sometimes I am, then you can just drink it right out of the carboy. It's not a sin to do that. Now, purists will criticize me for saying that. So my suggestion to you is to try those methods. If they don't work for you, then you bottle your wine. If bottling is the only way that you think you're going to get good results, then you bottle. But I've done it the other ways, and I don't have a problem with that. So it saves you a little bit of work. But again, that's just something I've done. I'm not going to tell you that's the best thing to do, because there's going to be some people that are going to be hammering me for saying those. But I've known other people to do that as well, and they've never had a problem either. Okay? Okay. Favorite 3 non-homebrew YouTube channels. Okay, let me see. EE Blog, I believe. EE Blog. Yeah, that's one. The One Pot Chef is another. And let's see, non-homebrew YouTube channels. I like he calls it Nico's Kitchen, but I can't remember. It's Rick's On or something. Or you can look up Nico's Kitchen and find his videos. I like him. He's a little rough around the edges, let's just say, but he's a great cook. So there's 2 cooking ones in there and 1 electronics. The EE Blog is an electronics thing. He takes stuff apart. He talks about electronics and he shows you all the circuits and everything. And I love that. So those are my 3, right now, my 3 favorites. Other ones that I've watched the Vsauce guy. I think he's great for kids. I love his stuff. The 10th Dimension. I can't remember the actual name. It's the 10th Dimension or something. Or, but if you look up the 10th Dimension, you'll find him. He's another guy I've watched a lot of. And there's a few others. The Truther Girls. I've watched her quite a bit. She's taken a break, I think, from YouTube or something. I'm not getting any videos from her lately. But she talks about conspiracy type stuff. Who else? I think there's lots of others. I prose around YouTube a lot, but those are the ones that come to mind. Okay? Do you like Canada's healthcare? I'm not going to talk a lot about this. The thing about Canada's healthcare is that we don't think about it. We don't have to think about it. And that's the thing about it, is if you want me to answer that question, do I like Canada's healthcare? Sure. We go to the doctor, we get stuff done, they give us our medication. In lots of cases, the medication doesn't cost anything because we have coverage that we don't pay for, either through your work or through social services. Low-income families have coverage. If you need an operation or any procedures done, you just get it done. Is it quality health care? I don't know. They kept my dad alive for 13 years when he had prostate cancer. They kept him going and going and going and going until it finally overtook him. Well, that was 13 years. It didn't cost him a penny. And he didn't have any insurance or anything like that. So we don't think about it here, healthcare. We just go and get stuff done and come home. It's not an issue. We probably pay more taxes because of it, though. So is it really free? That's up for debate, and I'm sure that'll cause quite a stir down in the comments. Do I like it? I like it just fine. No problem with it. What are your thoughts on splitting a liquid malt extract in half and having the remainder in a freezer? For instance, I only have a 3-gallon carboy and I would like to do the mini batch. Okay, yeah, I don't have a problem with that. I wouldn't freeze it because I've never done it before. I don't know what would happen if it would hurt it. I've never heard of anybody freezing their extracts, but I would put it in the fridge, covered. Try to cover it with something if you can find a lid that fits the can, or get a good piece of saran wrap with an elastic band, and just stick it in the fridge and try to use it within a few weeks. And like we're talking the remaining half. And when you do decide to use it, give it a little boil, just to take away any germs that may have gotten in. I'll doubt there'd be any, but just in case. You're not supposed to boil the kits, but in that case, I would boil it for a couple minutes just to kill anything. And go ahead. I don't see a problem with that whatsoever. Okay, what else here? You could do a Mr. Beer. You've got your Mr. Beer. I've got mine up there. And instead of buying the really expensive small little cans that you get, buy the normal size cans, split it in half. Nobody's going to kill me for that. Mr. Beer and Cooper's are one and the same anyway now, so I would say go for it. Split the can in half and put the other half in the fridge and just give it a little boil when you're ready. While watching your video on easy home brewing, you said tap water to fill up your used tap water to fill up your bucket. Does tap water with chlorine affect the yeast growth in the wort? I'm not a chemist. Okay. My tap water has chlorine. My beer often turns out fantastic, and usually turns out just fine. I don't think it affects it. I'm sure it does in some way, but I don't know. I've never done it without chlorinated water. I'm 47 years old. I have a bad back. I have arthritis in one hand, and I don't want to carry 5-gallon water jugs home from the grocery store. We don't park near the house. We have a parking spot that's some ways away. I just can't. I can't do it. I have a sore shoulder, the whole bit. I'm falling apart. So I'm not carrying that stuff. I'll use the tap water. It works fine. Generally, the rule of thumb is that if your tap water is good enough to drink, if it tastes good, and you're using it on a daily basis for cooking and for drinking and making tea and everything else, then you're fine to use it for brewing. Now, with that said, people, again, there's purists out there who are going to say, well, you should treat it with chemicals and pH stabilizers and Camden tablets and everything else. Yeah, you can do that, especially if you're, want to maximize the use of, of your maximize your mash. If you're doing all grain and you want the maximum efficiency and you want everything to, there's lots of chemistry behind brewing beer. And I'm not going to stand here and tell you none of it matters. It does matter, but all in all, you're fine to just use your tap water if that's all you've got. And even Brewing TV, I believe, on YouTube. Who's that? Is it Northern Brewer or somebody who does that? I can't remember but Brewing TV. They've got a homebrew video on their channel that tells you that tap water's fine. And I agree. But again, there are things you can do to it. Whether they make a big difference or not, I don't know, because I've never done it. Somebody else can chime in and say, have you ever done an identical batch of beer? Like you've made a 10-gallon wort, and you've done 5 gallons with tap water and 5 gallons with non-tap water. Has anyone ever done that? Because if not, then we really don't know, do we, whether there's going to be a difference. You can't just predict that it's going to be a difference if you have never tried it. Okay. My question is, do you not find a big enough... This is part of the question. He says, you know, I do a lot of beer kits and whatnot. Do you not find a big enough difference in quality and taste between kits and all grain to find the time to do more all grain brewing? Thanks for the videos. So basically what he's saying is I do a lot of beer kits and a lot of partial extract kits and not a lot of all grain brewing. Don't I find a big enough difference in the taste to put out the extra time and effort to do more all grain? The answer to that is obviously no. Otherwise I would do more all grain. But the other part of that is this. I don't have a lot of space here. I'm doing one thing or another, and if I'm not doing an all grain batch, I'm fixing something on my bench here, or I'm cleaning bottles, or I'm doing something else. My workbench always has stuff on it. I don't have a lot of room in this little area, which is about the size of a small bathroom, and so I don't have everything all set up. Now, if I was like some people who I've seen who have an entire separate room of their house with the sinks and their brew kettle and their pots and everything all set up and ready to go, and their mash tun and their they've got it all hooked up with plumbing and pumps and the electrical panel that controls everything, I probably would do all grain a lot more than I do. But as it is right now, when I have to do an all grain batch, I have to completely gut the whole place to get ready to do it. I got to do part of it upstairs in the kitchen because I have to do it on the stove. And if I had a propane burner, I would have to be doing it outside. Then I have to do the second half of it down here and running up and down the stairs because I'm sanitizing down here. I'm running up there to pitch, hops in there. Come back down here, get stuff, other things ready. Go back upstairs, carry it down to, here to pour into the fermenter. And then I have to clean everything. It's a lot of work. And I can imagine it's a lot of work when you have the kind of setup that I described a little while ago, where you've got the whole brewery, with all the pumps and tubes and things like that. You got to clean all that stuff when you're done. You've got to clean the kegs that you use to boil your wort in and all that stuff, or the pots or whatever, the kettles that you use. So no matter which way you slice it, it is a lot of work to brew all grain. And I guess the bottom line is, so far, when I'm brewing something like this, which is a brewer's best kit with grains and hops and all that included, no, I don't find it there to be enough of a difference at all to do the all grain instead of that. Because to me, like, I've done all grain, I've done several batches, and I don't find it to taste any better than this. To be completely honest with you, this is very, you could say this is an all grain beer. And I would challenge anybody to tell that it wasn't. Okay, so that's my answer. I think I've got one more here. Hi Craig, does the 5 and 7 work out well with any style of Cooper's homebrew? Okay, so I can put that down now. The 5 and 7 is something I kind of made up as a term that basically it's a step up from just a kit and kilo. So you take a can of Cooper's. This isn't a can. This is OxyClean. I don't have one around. You take a can of whatever, Cooper's, and you add 500 grams of dry malt extract and 700 grams of dextrose. That's it. Okay? And it's just, for me, it's just a sort of a quick and easy way to get a brew going that, you might need some beer for the next week or a couple of weeks from now, and you don't have a lot of time, so you throw that down, and I call it the 5 and 7. Does it work with every Cooper's kit? Well, it will work with every Cooper's kit, but I don't recommend using it with every Cooper's kit. Some of the Cooper's kits require more malt extract, less sugar. Some of them, you might need some maltodextrin, which they have in their brew enhancer that they have. It's like, for instance, if you're going to make a stout, a Cooper's stout, I don't know if a 5 and 7 is the best thing to do. You could do it and it would work, but I'd be willing to go, you know what, maybe you're going to want to add a little more, some grains to that maybe, or a little less sugar, because you don't want it to be as strong in the alcohol. You want it to have more of a body to it. At the same time, if you're doing like a Mexican cerveza, you don't want to add 500 grams of liquid malt extract, dry malt extract, because that will darken the beer. And a Mexican cerveza is supposed to be like, look like apple juice. It's supposed to be very light in color. So you don't want to add a lot of malt to that. You would rather go with a minimal amount of malt extract, dry malt extract, and some dextrose. Like on the can, it says use Brew Enhancer 2 or whatever. Or it might even be Brew Enhancer 1, I can't remember. So I would say that it works with all the Cooper's kits, that was just the standard white cans. But when you've got the Thomas Cooper Select kits, no, I would read the label and then do the way they say to do them. Do I always do that? No, I don't. I don't. But I've been doing this for a little while, so I know which kits work well with what. But in general, 5 and 7 works for everything. Every can you can get. There's the foghorn. That means it's time to go. Not with every single can. I would recommend you read the instructions on the can and see if it calls for anything different. And I think that's me out of time. No, that was the pump that pumps the... We have a high efficiency furnace. It uses natural gas, and natural gas has water vapor in it. And the high efficiency furnace removes the water vapor before it burns the natural gas. So you get more efficiency, and then it pumps the water out through a pump and through a tube, and it goes down a drain. That's what that noise is. Happens every half hour, so I'm used to it. All right, guys. Well, listen, I thank you for being here. Sorry if this video was a little long. Cheers. Definitely more brewing videos coming up. I took this week off because I was sick. I was going to have a couple more things up for you guys so that I had things before Christmas posted. And just remember, Friday night, 10 p.m. Eastern Time, okay? Justin.tv/CraigTube. I want to take some more calls. I want a few more Skype calls. I want people to start calling in and asking questions. Now, we keep the calls short. Minute or two. Ask your question, and then you hang up and we'll answer it off the air. Like off when you're hung up. That's the better way to do it. That way I can take more calls. A lot of times I take 2 calls and it's like, okay, people want music, so, So let's get as many calls in as we can. My Skype handle is CraigTalk1. That's Craig Talk and the number 1. You don't have to do a contact request thing. Just open up Skype when Friday night comes around and just call me. And we'll try to take a few more calls. It's supposed to be a phone-in show. It's not really supposed to be music. Although we do play a lot of music because that's what people like. And now, not everybody who watches my broadcast is a brewer. We've brought on a lot of new people. The broadcast has changed over the past 3 years. It's become more of just a Friday night music, radio show. And that's what it's become. And it seems to me that's where it's got steered, just sort of automatically with what people enjoy. And I've seen what people like. I've seen what they don't like. But I want to take some more Skype calls. I know my good mentor, Art Bell, has gone offline again. He's no longer broadcasting. And I'm pretty sad about that. He had a show called Dark Matter. And prior to that, he was on Coast to Coast AM. And, I wish this cold would go away. And just an utterly professional talk show host. I can only aspire to ever be anywhere near as good as he is and was. And hopefully, Art Bell will be back on the air again soon. So cheers to Art Bell. And cheers to you guys. And I hope to see you Friday. Thanks for watching. Check out the links down below. Rate the video, please. Subscribe if you haven't already. And share the video as well. There, I did my whole Ron Popeil thing. Now I'm going to go. Bye.